joining the session. This is an open class from Metapilot Academy, and we're just going to do a round of pitches with some feedback from some of our board members. My name is Dana. I run Metapilot Academy, and I'm a neuroscientist. Fred, also a neurobiologist, is joining with the perspective of research and research grants. Michael Sean, a VC partner for corporate VC, will be giving that perspective, the VC angles, so sort of from the other side. And then Paul will give you the corporate operational perspective and tell you very honestly if it's understandable. So with that, thank you so much, guys, for joining. Stefan is from our network in Barcelona, our network of founders working in cybersecurity and potentially interacting with some of our VC network and presenting a pitch on that. And then Michael is also going to give a short presentation given his perspective from the Canadian Armed Forces and other work in medtech. And well, I will allow you to present this yourself and not mess it up any further. So without further ado, Stefan, Michael, any preference on which one of you wants to go first? Yeah? All right. Off you go. You have the share button here in the middle, I think. You can also like give a short intro about yourself if you want.
Who?
Yes, who?
Me. Okay. Yeah. So just a short intro about myself. I'm Stefan, currently residing in Barcelona, and I'm currently very deep in the information security space. And in my previous career, I was like 15 years of engineering, like software developer, and then also engineering manager. Yeah, from that fun experience, I think this is part of my presentation today. Should I just jump into it, Diana?
Yeah, you're welcome. Right. You can just share the deck, and don't worry, the feedback here is to help it get better. We're not here to judge it, and with the knowledge that this is going from initial work that wasn't necessarily a hyper scalable tech company, so we're kind of trying to look at that direction.
All right. So I hope can you see what I see?
Yeah, I just added you to the scene.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So currently my company is mostly in consulting for highly regulated companies or very regulatory adjacent companies. So information security consulting or governance, risk and compliance is like the bigger topic. And one of the problems that I faced, or one of the problems that I also got reported from many areas, is that increasingly, I mean, currently the United States is not doing a great job for public relations. And there was already like a big problem with the US Cloud Act in the past, but it was kind of ignored. And nowadays, it gets more and more into the focus of my professional network. So tools like Vanta or Drata, for example, would be like direct competition for what I have in mind. And the problem with them is that the intelligence services can like directly suck up all the data as they want. Without asking anyone, without needing to go to the court. So I think not only for this GRC space, but also for the software space in general, there's this big compliance problem right now, or a compliance problem that is getting bigger and bigger, and especially in the governance, risk, and compliance space, this is extremely important. To be on the clean side there. And I did evaluate these tools beforehand, and I was kind of also flabbergasted on a functional level how insufficient they were. they do some things very well, but they do some very core elements very badly. I'm not going to get into this in this presentation, but I just want to give you a little bit of an overview. The other points are the tools, to some degree, are also just better spreadsheets. They don't help as much in the day-to-day operations as they're making themselves out to be. And yeah, overall, I think the shift towards like sovereignty in the European market is getting now more and more apparent. For example, 2 or 3 weeks ago, was it France who was announcing that they're going to replace Microsoft Office, starting with Teams, etc. So I think there's a trend here where I see an opportunity to enter, and this is what I'm working on. Just a kind of like opportunity overview in Europe. All companies together are spending some 8.2 billion a year on GRC software specifically, and the overall cybersecurity market is estimated to be something around 70 billion. And now with the NIS2 and DORA is more for financial tech, fintech companies, but especially NIS2 is just in Germany jumping the companies who need to be compliant with this standard from some 2,000 to now over 30,000 companies who are under the jurisdiction of this like regulatory framework. So in terms of marketing opening, that's also pretty good signal. And yeah, why me? I was just helping a company called Hawk to scale from 35 employees to 180 employees, and I was the only information security officer. And I also helped them last year to secure the Bundesbank as a client, which you might be able to imagine. This is a rather complicated underpinning, especially from someone from the security side. But nevertheless, this is like also the only public client that I'm allowed to share, so to speak, at this moment. There are other tier 1 banks in the pipeline. And yeah, overall, I have like 15 years of engineering experience prior, and I've been in many startups, so I do know what goes and what doesn't go. Plus, I'm also I'm also working with Diana on more in the business side. The solution is technically the software doesn't need to be much better than Drata or Vanta to begin with. There are also other competitors. I just like for brevity left them out. But essentially what you cannot do with these guys is a sovereign deployment, like self-deploying the software on your systems. And another thing that they don't do very well is like actually taking care of a CISO's flow base. This kind of moment when you're just like working and you don't even realize that you're working. They're terrible at that. And I see the opportunity there, and I'm building basically a tool that I would like to have. And that slide is, that is built out of professional frustration, but it's also backed by feedback because I do have a fairly large network of CISOs and information security officers that I talk to on a regular basis. And the very, very common theme around there is, these options are the least worst of the bunch. So I hope that with my own insight, I can do a lot better on this one. And yeah, where we are right now, working on the software on a conceptual basis now longer than 2 years, and the actual implementation, I'm currently working on that for like 3 months. Of course, I'm using all the modern tools that there are, but I also have a consulting business, so it's not 100% full-time. So I'm asking to raise some 500K basically to have the time to do it for full-time, and then also hire a sales team, go on conferences, and operationally set up everything. and then start the mid-level to enterprise sales operation, which also requires a little bit capital investment up front because the sales cycles are relatively long or can be fairly long. Yeah, any questions?
Go ahead, guys. Whoever wants to join, Michael, Paul, Fred, whoever is up for it.
Hopefully you don't get a lot of feedback here from my mic. I just, you're talking about other companies having trouble like deploying their software like securely, like standalone. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, does yours, are you able to like kind of work on top of everyone else? Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like integrate easily with other people?
I mean, essentially, you can. I mean, technically, you can buy these softwares, but like my competition, essentially, you can buy them to deploy them, but it's the price tag is rather high. So right now, I think the last price offer that I got from these companies was something like 15,000 per year for the software as a service version. And then the own deployments go in the 3 or 4 times that. So, and the value proposition is just not there for this kind of price tag. So essentially, my pricing structure will be basically whatever you pay for the SAS version, you will also pay for a self-deployed version, if this makes sense. Because the operation of the software does not it's a marginalized cost essentially for that one.
Cool. Anyone else? Michael, Paul, Fred?
Stefan, this is Fred. Very, very nice talk. I actually missed a bit of it because I had some computer issues and had to log back in. So I think I missed some of your opening. And who did you say were your ideal customers here?
Basically, people like me. So I was an information security officer for a company of, let's say, an average 120 people. So companies in that size is currently my ideal customer because mostly they do have the money to afford software like this. They do have the market need to have software like this, or to have like certifications in general. And this software, like these GRC tools, always like make it possible that you have the certification in a lot more structured and faster way. And also the decision time is just a lot quicker. My more ideal customer goes more into like the 500 to 1,000 people range, because they have even harder needs for this kind of enterprise software. But the sales cycle is just can be then go from 2 months with a 200 company with a 200 people company to like whatever, half a year or 1 year. As like the bigger they get, the longer it will take to do this whole sales pipeline. So yeah, right now ideal customers like 120 to 200 people companies, of which there are thousands in the European Union. So I'm not very I'm not short of leads.
That's good.
Fred, do you have more questions? Or? Yeah, I can just give some reflections. Typically, I look on 4 factors when listening to pitches. First is the business module. Also assessing the team, what's their experience. Also the technology. How is this better than competitors? Also where you are on your technology readiness level. if you have
Yeah.
any patents in place, etc., and also timing. So timing is technology timing, but it's also market timing. So could you elaborate a bit on these four kind of aspects: business model, team, technology, and timing? Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of business model, the classic software as a service at first, then the own deployment as second. So there will be also professional services with this. I do want to keep a consulting, like basically fractional CISO kind of model. I want to keep this inside the company because this gives very good, very detailed insights into our customers to a level that you wouldn't get if you wouldn't have that. So that's the overall business model. In terms of pricing, I have not made a decision on that. I will listen, I will have to listen to the market to do so. Then sorry, what was the second one?
Business model, team, technology, timing.
Team, yeah. So team, it's just me for the moment, and I do feel very confident in executing on that vision. It's just with investment, it will go a lot faster. Then in terms of technology, it's based on. You will be a little bit surprised, but I have very good reasons to do so. I'm using Clojure as my primary programming language and Datomic as the primary database backend. This is mostly because it reduces the complexity. It is going to be a fairly complex piece of software, and these technologies make it a lot easier to reason about it because they support immutability. They have automated history tracking, so every database change is tracked by default automatically without any additional headache. And it's a super, super stable language. There's also one thing that a lot of people get wrong when they start to have their startup, whatever tech stack decisions. Libraries written in Clojure that were written 8-10 years ago, they still work just as well as the ones that are written just a month ago because the language itself is extremely stable. There are lots of it's a Lisp-like language if you don't know what this means, and if you don't know what Lisp-like means, then I'm hard to be pressed to explain this to you at this point, but yeah, these were very deliberate choices, and I think they're good for velocity, and also the average developer in that space that I can hire later on is they usually have 8 to 10 years of experience by themselves. So that's not a JavaScript bootcamp kind of language. It's like people who already worked in other languages who then switched over for very good reasons. And then timing. I mean, NIS2, this NIS2 directive just came into force. So there's just a market of 10,000 companies in Germany that opened up to have an in there. Then there's EU AI Act. I think, and also just a growing concern with how the US administration is currently dodging or destroying their reputation, right? They are not considered a safe haven for data anymore. Technically, they were never, but now it becomes more and more obvious that Europe goes into the sovereign software stack kind of direction. So, and this is what I'm betting on. These are my working assumptions. Yeah.
Cool. Super. Paul, any closing questions on the delivery? I would just ask you, was it clear for you, what the product is, who is doing it, for what reasons? I think the current political situation, we kind of understand that there's a need for data protection for sure. Any other thoughts or suggestions from you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think Stefan emoted appropriately because he said it was built out of frustration. That is a great identifying statement there. But there is definitely need for more clarity here. As you spoke about these tools that's being used currently, you said they're a liability. You also said there was a compliance problem. However, I didn't hear the costs of non-compliance. I didn't really hear the pain point besides the frustration of them not being effective. All right. So you were effective in getting across that there was a problem, but the size of the problem and the impact on day to day, I didn't quite get that. So we need to put a little more.
Sorry, Paul, you just cut out, I think.
I think that's a really, really good point that Paul made. But yeah, it's always the same. I think with all of you, we will go through the structure of the pitch deck because, as Michael said, like him being a VC, he's seen thousands of these, and it's always like, what is going on? What's the problem? Which I think you did really well in explaining. Numbers would be even more convincing just because then you see like billions, billions, billions everywhere, a lot of loss, right? And then you come with a solution which is like very clear, solution to exactly how it's solving this particular problem. And then you start to convince us that no one else can do it, because then investors themselves will think, well, this is worth scaling. We need to scale this across the US. We need to scale this across Europe, also to circumvent the financial loss of not having it, right? By the end, they should feel like if we don't have this, then it's a big loss. It's a financial loss, because at the end of the day, investors think in financial terms. It's very hard to convince a generalist VC that to care about a particular problem. I used to try to convince people to care about neuroscience. They don't care as much as me. They care about financial loss or financial gain. That's where investors are.
I mean, so first of all, thank you very much for the feedback to all of you guys. And the impact on the day-to-day, I mean, I only have anecdotal data for this, but I do know at least 3 companies who did not buy any of these tools because of these concerns. So that's they were like, okay, like, we actually need something like this, but this is going to open up another compliance problem with our customers. So if let's say if a bank is your customer, and you say like, okay, we have now this like automated scanning of our like cloud infrastructure. One US company is enough for this, which is usually then AWS, Azure, or Google. But then Vanta, for example, they're also asking for access to your live environment. So that's already a red flag. Like this by itself is a red flag, apart from all the other problems that these tools have. But and I will try to break it down into numbers. Yeah. Thank you so much for the feedback. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Stefan. And yeah, great points. We will do a session on that. But I think all of you, what you guys have in common is that you think very deeply about technological problems. None of this is a 2-minute ChatGPT search. And like, as you mentioned, this was also not a weekend hacking project. It's 15 years of cybersecurity work. So great stuff in, turning complex things into simple ones. And we'll take it from here, Stefan. If you want to stay and watch the other 2 pitches, you're welcome. If not, up to you. Who wants to go next? Michael or Guilherme?
Oh,
Hey, welcome back, Paul. Thank you. We're just saying how great your feedback was.
oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not sure what occurred. This phone froze up. Okay.
Really weird internet today. Guilherme, do you want to go next? How do you feel?
Hi, hello Diana. Hello guys. How are you doing?
Hey.
Okay. I made some updates on my pitch deck. I will present to you today.
Mm-hmm.
So let me share my screen here. I have to share on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just needs a few seconds. There we go.
Um,
It's a little bit windy in there, but it's actually no, it's fine. I think the noise is gone.
yeah,
I will blog my video as well, and yeah, it's
just a moment. Everything
no
goes
problem.
right when you want to present it.
No problem. So like Murphy's Law, this always happens when you're trying to present.
Yeah.
I'm familiar, having had to present pitches so many times. It's always like in the official meeting that they stop working. But yeah, we're here to practice. It's actually a really nice combo today with Michael, Paul, and Fred, because you have the different perspectives. You know, the corporate, the research, and the VC one, and it's really good to have all that.
Then
Yeah.
can I present my pitch on the next Monday? Something here got.
Something happened? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
No worries. Michael, would you feel okay to present either your website, again, just to take us through it, or your pitch deck?
Sure. I have a pitch deck. Yeah, just give me a second.
It's okay. We're actually kind of halfway into the time anyway, so thank you for staying. Yep, I think I've added
Yeah.
you to scene. Let's
Are you able to see the screen that I'm sharing?
Can you try one more time to share screen? I thought I clicked on it, but I'm not sure. Yep, adding to scene. There we go. Go ahead. I'll mute myself. You're muted. Yes, there we go.
All right, better. Sorry. This is a company Cross North Dynamics. To make it simple, the reason I made this company is because I don't want to die. So I know what's going on in Ukraine right now with the way warfare is like headed, and it's pretty scary with all the drones and how fast everything's moving and how we're not essentially ready for it. I founded this company. Well, officially just got founded this year. I did business registration. I mean, that doesn't really matter. I'm headquartered here in British Columbia. I was just accepted to showcase my software at the CUAS Sandbox and CFB Suffield, which is Canadian Forces Base Suffield. So they'll be, for 3 days, I'll be showing that my software can track drones, and it's to help like the government needs to catch up, because we like for warfare where it's going. I got like they did analysis on my software when I had to do it, and they gave me these marks. So you see, like I skate really good on collateral damage, which is no risk to that to people. How fast the rapid development was. 2-year growth, pretty good. 5-year growth, it's okay. 10-year growth, not so great. Human factors, I don't actually know what that is. Oops, sorry. Some of these things where I scored low on, like, are things I can really improve on. Like, I created all this, like, teaching myself, and pretty much all I had is my laptop. So I looked into what I need to like say to get for a better naval environment. So just that has to do with me hardening the hardware I'm giving on to make it so it's like resistant to like salt, and then they have to be passive when they're doing their shipping to so like doing things like using light. I developed like an anti-jamming system as well using light because I know when talking to people that are on the Polish-Russian border that the Russians are just jamming the whole border area. So even if you have like good software there, it needs to be able to be standalone by itself. So continue tracking even when it doesn't have a connection, and then a way for it to talk back to it when once if you're getting jammed and it's an emergency. That was done by the Department of Defense, by the way, the evaluation. Yeah, we have a vulnerability in detection right now. A lot of them use active to look for it, and like once you use an active system to look for it, they can easily target you, and then like it's not good for you. I also use this for medical, and for medical, it's just about speed, cost, and how machine learning can help you recognize patterns a lot quicker. I split my company into two places. I call the one Heimdall just because the C is for defense, and then targeted resonance architecture for the medical one. All my software is sensor agnostic. I just chose to focus on sound at first because it's the most economical model. So to start with everyone can generally find some way to use sound to use this. I created an advisory board because some of the feedback I received that they were worried about that I was doing kind of everything by myself. So I got some of the partners that already partnered with NATO and the Polish Army, and then some CEOs that are from here to help me with the business part, which I like really kind of struggle with, just trying to like articulate like how the business model is going to work, how people are going to make money to invest in it. Like I said, is dual youth. They're both very big sectors. Right now, we're having such an increase in spending into military spending and defense. You can look at places like Japan, that's trying to be like number 3 biggest military spender in the world by I think it was like 2030. The medical is also just crushing out. Yeah, like I said, defense and medical sectors are both growing up. I can see someone's doing something like I'm doing here in the medical, except they're using lasers, but they're doing essentially the same thing, making kind of like a library so they can do look at it faster. I actually reached out to him, see if he want to collaborate. He's at the University of Waterloo, so let's see how that goes. All my systems use edge processing, so at the source, it tries to do most of the work and then sends it back to my back end in order to see to see the pattern. So essentially, what my software does is using the sensor agnostic. It takes it, looks at it, breaks it down, turns it into a spectrograph, takes that spectrograph and turns it back to my back end, where my back end creates a library, a fingerprint with it, and with that fingerprint, it's able to recognize patterns. And once I get like a fingerprint, I can also create a digital twin of it in order so I can use that digital twin to continue to improve the model. I have competitors, but they're either very hardware intense. Their infrastructure takes a lot to get into. It's very expensive, and like the high collateral of it. So if you're spending $150,000 on a system up to a couple million and you lose one, it's really big. It's a really big loss. Here's kind of they are now, like Anduril, Drone Shield, Dead Drone. some of the bigger ones here, like they're all billion-dollar companies I'm trying to hang with, but doing okay. Year one, just saw about validation to show that all my technology works. Right now, I'm at I have tested my software, so it's working right now. I just need to get it into the hands of consumers. So I need some pilots, and then some milestones. So right now, I've already done this. I've created an advisory board just because I was trying to do everything by myself. So I'm just trying to surround myself with people to fill in the gaps of what I don't know. I'm trying to get around 750 KST funding, and that's allow me to leave the armed forces so I can pursue this full time and spend more time on it and create a company around it. I have very low overhead for the most part. So a lot of it's going to be like hiring engineers and the people around me that I need for the business to succeed. So I got.
Nice. Michael, I have to say this is like a big improvement from last time, just because you are very good with the slides. I think you did a really good job presenting visually what the deal is, and what you're saying on the side is actually very helpful while I'm looking at the pictures. What the product is, I have a much better idea now, and I also have a better idea, I think, of how this would develop, potential contracts, traction was presented quite well. I think as with the other one, a few things quickly on my end. The financials, we will go into that just because the MBA program has an entire module of financials, and it has it for a reason, so that you feel extremely comfortable talking about it and how this scales. When you think about financials, you'll start thinking operationally in terms of this will not be a one-person company. There will be a need for hires on every aspect, on product development, on marketing, on sales, on, for example, writing governmental grants, whether it's for Canada or whether it's SPIRs or something else. And yeah, by the way, one thing, because our programs have sometimes like an aerospace defense focus, and there's a lot of things going on in the world right now, it's always good to think how we phrase the current situation, keeping in mind we will have people in the network at all times from the US, from Europe, from the Middle East, and from Asia. And sometimes we have people working directly in defense. So just keep that in mind. I didn't say did anything bad, but just, there's a way to be diplomatic in a situation where it's really hard to be sometimes. So yeah, if any other comments are coming, I'm sure you guys have heard enough from me. So I think any of you, Michael, Paul, Fred, would be very helpful.
I'll go. I think your remarks were spot on. And what I'll just say is the medical piece seems like it's a nice carry on because it's got a nice regulatory fit. But I hear the message strongly about the DoD here. So when it comes to the financials, you're going to really have to parse those out. That there's a case medically, for you to support. Otherwise, I say, look, trim that. Let's go DoD and bring that back in because a couple of things I want to talk to you about technically. You mentioned you'll when you get the spectrograph back, you'll from that create your library as well as your digital twin, and then you'll use that to prove out the model. My question is, do you have a step to prove out the digital twin that the twin is indeed a twin? That is something to marinate on if you haven't done that yet. And the other piece is on the unjamming, the jamming software. I didn't quite hear what the pivot was because an investor's going to want to know if is that the Achilles heel of this. What is your anti-jam plan? I didn't hear that clearly. I didn't hear your unjamming strategy. I'm sure that's detailed software stuff, but it didn't come across clearly. But this was, I agree with Deanna.
I use
Deanna. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, for the jamming thing is just using light. So like you can't jam light. So if you have one source light to another source, you don't even need to use light. You can use heat, but just using patterns almost like Morse code would be. But you can put a lot of data just through like throwing off, so a bunch of flashes, and you can make it like a key code. So it's keyed from one to the next, so you know it's secure. So like it would just look like random lights, and they would never be able to break it. And even if they capture one, it wouldn't matter because they don't have a twin. And as soon as they capture it, then you can just like turn that one off, and then they won't know anything. So that's how you can do that. So you can do that with, you know, light's the simplest way I can figure out to do it, but there's a few more ways you can do it. You can do it with like vibration, anything really that's not radio. You could send another signal to like a base, and that's also good for when you're on a ship. So if you're just using light and not a radio signature, like I said, they got to be passive in their sensor because when they run silent, so people aren't looking at them. I didn't go too much into the medical part, just because obviously being in the military, defense is something that's easier for me. But that's why I'm surrounding myself with people more into the medical side of things, so they'll be able to explain it better to me, like going into that. So I'm making a separation in the company where I'll be more focused on the defense and infrastructure part of it, and then I'm going to let like the people that are more academically inclined and into the medical system be able to explain to people in their own language.
Yeah, excellent. And I want to say also excellent. I love your, that everything is agnostic and even the edge process you're doing, and that definitely keeps that bridge, into medical. But I think that should be further down the turnpike because you got some really good stuff here on the DoD side. Thank you so much. Excellent.
And Paul hit on one of the comments I was going to make around the EW environment. I think your answer around light, I mean, is something you really should highlight as a unique opportunity. Because it provides well, you might not be able to make the case for a first mover opportunity, but it does provide this really intriguing opportunity that I can imagine not much of a competitive landscape could actually follow. Um, but I didn't get a good sense of what do you really feel is your competitive landscape beyond, you kind of say like there are defense contractors, big defense contractors out here, but who do you really see as for your specific product, a real competitor?
Maybe Andrew, but like I don't really have a competitor that's like kind of in my niche because everyone is really like hardware and um, infrastructure very heavy. So like everyone is very heavy prepared to me. Like I can put up a whole defense network in a whole country in about 5 minutes. Like because everything's on open software, and you can get into like radio towers that people have in their country, and then you can use the radio signals to start like tracking drones. So like my biggest issue right now is going to be securing my system in order for me to like um, combine the speed which I'm able to um, get my system out there with the security that you'd be comfortable with using it. So some of that like I'll need some more help with people that are more that have a better idea how to do it than me, that know like understand like programming better, uh, and how to do that. I'd be at a loss to explain to you properly because like I can only like I've read it can be done, but like to explain this is how to do it, I need a more professional to explain that. But
Yeah.
for like competitors, like they're mostly like government contractors are like the big ones like Boeing or not Boeing, sorry, North Wind Grunet and people that make maybe GM. I'm not sure who makes all their like aero defense um, weapons and defense systems, but pretty much that's who I'd be competing with. People that would be setting something up at a forward operating base or on an embassy somewhere. You can use it for critical infrastructure like nuclear plants, power, things like that.
Cool. Michael, any comments on the VC side, like scaling, business model, things like that?
Yeah. So typically, what an investor looks like is, okay, what's the next step, and how do you de-risk the next gate in your plan? So you had one slide with some timeline, but nothing beats seeing is believing. So typically, you want to see what your technology can do. You had 2 tracks, one medtech track and also one more defense-related track. They probably have 2 different scale-up plans that probably go into the next phase to look a bit deeper in how you intend to scale up the technology. I took notice that your technology it's pure software. So in general, there are 2 types of companies, either software-based or hardware-based or hardware with software. So software-based, they have typically much faster return of investments generally.
I have both.
I was missing a bit on the business model. What your TAM, total addressable market, is, how much you think you could take on that in the different segments, and also how you want to scale up the company. Thank you.
Yeah, I have for the software and hardware part, I'm actually a bit of a hybrid on that. So my model is like I can use your existing infrastructure and then make it better. But if you don't have that infrastructure, I could also create it for you. So I'm creating hardening of different sensor suites. I partnered with a couple companies. One's Defense Valley PSA, the other one's Assets Technologies. They both make very good like hardware in order for me to give them like a really good system if they don't have it. For like I said, for the business part, I've actually meeting with an executive later today to help me make a better business model. Like I understand that business is not my strong suit here. Like I know there's a need. I know you can make money off it. I know right now, if you just look around the world, what just went on with Iran, like what's going on with this, like there is a definite need for it, right? And same with medical. Like these are all big needs. So like it's not that the need's not there, but I'm going to try to like continue working on where I'm strong and then bringing in people to help me where I'm not strong with that, to like people that are in a better position to understand the dynamics of the business of it.
Okay. I don't know, unless you had any thoughts, Michael. I do see a tendency here, and it's super weird to say I see a lot of myself in you guys because I'm also a kind of person that likes deep tech and doesn't want to worry too much about the financials. What I find is if you are looking for investors, they are going to test you because they want to see, not that you know exactly how you're going to scale, but they're going to test your logic around dealing with numbers. They're going to test, why do you need to hire this programmer? How much would you pay them? Why do you need a senior or a junior? Why do you need this marketing team? Why do you need a grant writer? Why can you not write grants yourself? And often as a founder, when you start hiring people, you're actually just outsourcing stuff that you're already doing yourself. Your first sales, you do yourself as the founder. Then you hire other people to do what you already did and you teach them. Because if you never made a sale, you cannot hire someone to do the sales for you. In a very similar manner for the financials, yes, you can hire a CFO down the line, but you will be telling the CFO what to do. If you don't have like full control over the financials of the company, all sorts of weird things can happen. And I have seen every possibility out there. I have seen people reach Series C or D and being kicked out from the board. If you don't have a strong feeling for what dilution is and what can happen to your shares over time, watch The Social Network, see what happened. These are things that as the founder, because you feel like this is your project, your baby, you want to hold control of that. You can give some of it away, but at the end of the day, you know what's going on. And you know what's going on with your sales, with your finances, and with your research, right? You cannot not know that. And you cannot tell an investor, I'll have to ask the finance guy. I don't know, it's just my 2 cents, and it's super hard. That's why being a founder is being 10 billion things at the same time, and you often feel like you're failing because you feel like you're doing all of them badly. You're not. You're just at the end of the day, you're kind of the vision behind all of this, and you will slowly give away parts of yourself to other people. But I don't know, like, does anyone else have thoughts on this? Michael, Fred, Paul, you guys have been doing this for many decades.
Well, as that one specific note, real quick, since you brought up the idea of dual use, and I think you should actually consider whether you really are a dual use product, if that's where you want to come out and hit first, or if you really want to go do a deep dive, which I think Paul was kind of hinting at with sort of we're focusing more on DoD, because you run the risk of diluting your product a bit, your product offering, when you're trying to sell it as too many things. Like the medical sounds really interesting, but are you really there? What's the real market? Because even on the defense side of the house, maybe to Michael's question, it's sort of thinking who would really be a customer in the defense enterprise? Is it really just a niche product? As you kind of said, it was niche. Is it niche where there are only a few buyers, or is this something that whole units would be outfitted with? What's the scale of use for your for the product offering? It's something that can at least kind of thinking around that might get you to at least having some over the thumb numbers.
I I do have clients in mind. Like I said, when the Department of Defense looked at the product, they gave my company like an outlook of like 2 year good, 5 year like pretty decent, and like 10 year also good. So what I mean by like a niche, it's not like a niche need, but it's a niche that my company's in. There's not many like small companies like mine that are one man show that are trying to keep up with Raytheon or like Grumman in Northman or Skunkworks or something. So it's not so much that the need is niche, but what I'm doing is niche. And the only reason I'm able to do it is just because how fast the technology has moved. And then as for the say splitting it up into medical and defense, I already have some traction on the medical side as well. Um, some promising people that are interested into the research. I already have a minimum viable product for it, and like what I can do doesn't really scale just across defense or medical. Like you can use it for infrastructure. I'm talking right now with another city about how to help out their getting their river systems better, like tracking it. So it's just pattern recognition. You can use it to track stars. You can use it to track salmon migration. But these are the things that I understand the best right now. So that's what I was interested in. So that's what I went with. But it's not so much need to pigeonhole into defense or into medical.
That's good. That is excellent, Michael, to hear that in terms of the minimum viable product. I was playing. Sometime I love to do acronym soup, and I was playing around with an acronym earlier, and I landed on SOAR, SOAR. Of course, close to flying, right? Soaring. And clearly, I think I do feel the pain, and your opening line spoke to that when you was speaking about what's going on in the war landscape and across borders, and rhyming why your why with die. Clearly, I think the pain point has come across, and what I want to do is just piggyback on some remarks that Deanna just made, and that is what you're going to find is you're going to have the tendency right now on the S is solution, or what is it you're going to solve. The O is your operational solution, your operational technical solution, and the A is your advantage, and the R is your return. So if you look at these four buckets, as an engineer, as a technology person, you're going to spend a lot of time on the O to operate. That's where you actually build your confidence. That's where you start feeling, okay, I got something here. All right. And of course, you go right into your advantage and highlighting that. And I see some of your advantages here, and they're shaping up nice. The agnostic, uh, um, um, the unjamming things you got to tighten up. The MVP now, so you have some stuff here in terms of your IP that you could showcase. But the return, and that's what I just heard from Deanna. This is where you got to really put on the business hat. Your ask. You put a number there. I don't know. You arrived at that number. I think you said, was it 750? I forgot what you said, or 500. And what is it they're going to get? And when are they going to get their return? Okay, it's going to be all about that. With all those peeling away at the onions, those 5 why, 10 why questions at the end. So you got to spend as much time there practicing, detailing, and it was good to hear that you're going to go off and talk to some folks to tighten up your business model to get a better one and so forth. So I think you got enough stuff going on with the solve, the pain point. It just needs a matter of dressing that up in even more dramatic ways. And the operational technology is looking solid, your advantage. You got to spend some time on this return. All right. Yes, there's some gaps, but to me, if I was an investor, you're building the credibility. So let's just keep doing that.
Yep, great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna try to quickly wrap up, sorry, because I'm going into everyone's time. But again, appreciate so much you guys spending the time. Now you see why it's worth it. Because you get to see the reactions. It's a bit like watching Shark Tank. It's fun for me to watch. We will do a session on the simplest pitch deck we can think of. This is the problem, and it's bugging me. This is why we solve the problem. This is our team. Sometimes investors really want to see that there's a balance of power. At the end of the day, they want to see that they're not just sending you money. They want to see that there's a team and that there's, like shares and all of that, right? So that they are legally protected in the long run. And then we will go into other operational aspects of it. But I think I've seen a lot more clarity, Michael, from the previous time. Looking forward to Guilherme's. I know you're taking notes. And Stefan, very interesting stuff with the cybersecurity. I think it's clear that cybersecurity is important. There's a lot of data that is going through different AI models, and we definitely need to regulate that, and we need to have a global understanding of what's happening with it. And that's a scalable model. We just need to figure out how. So with that, thank you guys so much. I look forward to the next session, and thank you for doing this, because we're starting to better understand what we need to put into the program. The program should be built around people. So that is what we do. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything. Just wrapping up.
Just want to say thank you. And thanks, Diana, for inviting me.
Very welcome.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else?
Yeah. Thank you guys all kindly.
Bye, guys. Bye,
Thank you, guys.
Diana.
Bye.
All right.